All right, Matt, the mortgage guy here with Doug Reynolds from Coldwell Banker. Thanks for hanging out with me today, brother.
No problem.
In this crazy competitive market that is 2021, I wanted to ask you directly, as somebody who works with lots of buyers every single year, what are you doing to stand out? What are you doing to help get offers accepted in a market like this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's pretty much safe to assume almost every property is going to have multiple offers. It's going to be pretty competitive. And so when you're working with buyers, you got to do some stuff to stand out. And so I tell my clients, they're searching for the homes, they're using their apps, they're doing all that and everything. But once we find a property they're interested in, we go check it out. And when they say, yeah, I want to write an offer, that's when it's time for the agent to go to work for the buyer. I'm doing everything I can to connect with that agent that's representing the seller. I'm trying to get them on the phone. Hey, what's going on? What's the seller's situation? I'm trying to find out every single thing that I can so that we can structure our offer in a way that is going to be pleasing and appealing to the seller. Some offers, you might want to have a rent back available because they need to stay in. If the house is vacant, there's no need for a rent back. You're trying to find out, there's so many terms in a contract. You can manipulate and adjust and change all these little terms. It's not just price every single time.
Right.
So really you're trying to tee it up for the seller so that it's, hey, this is what we were looking for.
I totally get what you're saying. Can you give maybe some specific examples of what you might put into an offer that would be a real life example for those folks that are curious?
Sure. Example, going back to the rent back. What that means is you as a buyer saying, hey seller, I'll buy your house, but I'm going to let you stay in the property after we close escrow so that you can work on your transition and everything. If the seller is moving out of state, they might need a couple of weeks or something to help with that transition period. So if you've got two different offers you're comparing and they're both at 700,000, but in that scenario, the seller's moving out of state and offer A is just saying we're closing escrow, you need to be out on the day that we close escrow. And offer B is saying, you know what, you can stay in for 3 weeks and hey seller, we can see that you've taken really good care of your property. So we trust that you're going to continue to do so. You can use the rent back and say, you can stay in that house for another 3 weeks and we'll let you stay rent free. And it doesn't equate to a ton of money for the buyer's loss or the seller's gain a lot of times. It's more of the emotional side of it that the seller goes, wow, this buyer really likes our property, they trust us, and they're really giving us what we need to make that transition to our next property. And so dollar for dollar, they're the same, but emotionally and terms-wise, offer B is probably going to get accepted over offer A because you did that little extra for that particular seller. If the house was vacant, those terms wouldn't matter for that scenario. So another example would be is in Sacramento, it's kind of been standard for 1% of the price to be your initial deposit, your good faith deposit, your skin in the game. Well, if you've got two offers, one's at $600, the other one's at $600, but your initial deposit, instead of being $6,000, is $10,000 or $12,000, the seller is going to feel like, wow, this buyer is putting more skin in the game. They're more committed to this property. And so it's about the terms also. It's not just the price, the terms that are in there. So as an agent, my job with a buyer is trying to figure out every single thing I can about that particular seller and what is important to them, because what is important to one seller might not be important to another seller. And so I am working to structure that offer exactly the way that particular seller is going to be pleased with.
Right. Yeah, and I see that every day. So I think this is really good information for, the buyer's not necessarily going to do these negotiations on their behalf, but I see the difference because I work with buyers who are competing against 12 and 15 offers, and the difference between getting accepted and getting it not accepted over and over and over again can be the amount of work that your agent's putting in. And sometimes no fault of the agent at all. They just haven't been in the game long enough, or they don't understand these things. And so, yeah, it's cool. And I think curiosity on my part, is there ever times where it's a lot harder to get that information on what's going to appease the seller? Because you think about it, and it's like if you're on the list side, you want to get your your seller everything that they're looking for, something that's appeasing to them and fits with their goals. And so I would think that the agent would want to give this information up, but do you ever run into roadblocks?
Absolutely. I think for whatever reason, it's more of kind of your newer, modern day agent that's kind of younger or hasn't been in the business very long. For whatever reason, younger agents, newer agents, they tend to shy away to be not that available on the phone. They really just want to text. They kind of hide behind the technology and just don't want to have a lot of deep conversations. And so that can be frustrating. Yes, I am a little bit younger, but I started right after college. I've actually been selling real estate for 15 years now. So I'm kind of more of a old schooler style of that, as far as a conversation on the phone is so golden in order to try to figure out how to get the meeting of the minds between a buyer and a seller. And so sometimes I tell my clients, sometimes it's going to be open book and that agent's going to tell us almost everything we want to know. We're going to know how many offers and maybe what even the offers that we're competing against are looking like. Usually it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but sometimes they're not answering their phone. I can barely get them to text me back. We've got to just write the best offer that we can based on limited information. It's frustrating when that happens, but that is just the nature of dealing with all kinds of different personalities of agents and everything. But I try to cut through that. You try to really connect. You want your offer to stand out in the fact that, hey seller, I've got 10 offers here to present to you. Well, I had a really good conversation with this buyer's agent. They know what they're doing. I feel comfortable that they are going to get through this process without a lot of issues. They're working with a good lender. They've got a track record of closing business. Those types of things are really crucial. So you're trying to get to that point, but definitely sometimes you just got to go, hey, they're hiding behind text messages. We got to just do it.
Which unfortunately, ends up hurting the seller, because the offer that is perfect for them might not get presented just because the agents don't know how to present it.
And just to flip that, when I'm a listing agent, a couple of things. One, I want to have conversations because I'm trying to weed out what agent knows what they're doing, what agent doesn't, trying to get information from them. So when I do present the offers, I can say, hey, this person really knows what they're doing. This person, I don't recommend this offer because they're kind of crazy or it's going to be a bunch of drama. I can
no crazy
tell.
People in real estate, is there?
And
no comment.
I'd say lastly, as a listing agent, sometimes I'll just get an offer. It'll just randomly come into my email. No call before, no follow-up after to find out whether it was even received. I mean, if I didn't see it, I might not even knew it existed or was even there. It's incredible how many agents will just fire off an offer to somebody and will never even reach out to them to let them know. They're just trusting the magic of email, but they're never communicating and trying to present their offer in the best light.
Right. Yeah. I think you've got a good mix, because real estate is a people game, and so without you can utilize technology to make some things easier, but ultimately having conversations, talking with people is what gets deals done.
For sure.